SBA is making available to small business owners right now due to the coronavirus, the COVID-19 situation. So there are two different loan programs. One of them has been around for a really long time. It's the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. This is part of an overall loan program with the SBA that covers lots of disaster loans, like if there was an earthquake or a hurricane or a tornado that caused your business to shut down for a small period of time or a long period of time. It also covers the economic injury disasters, like what is the coronavirus is inflicting on Americans all across the country. This particular loan program is available to companies with fewer than 500 employees, and it's available up to $2 million. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or EIDL, is a fixed 3.75% interest loan that has a 30-year amortization. You can delay your initial payment, defer your initial payment for up to 1 year or 12 months from the time you take the money. So it's a 30-year loan, and you cannot start paying it for a year from the time you take the money, up to $2 million. This loan is, the amount you get is determined by your revenues and your gross margins and a couple of other factors. I know a couple of business owners who have been approved for several $100,000 that they could potentially draw. You get approved for a certain amount, you don't have to draw the entire amount, and you don't have to draw it all at once. Now, there's another program that was created by the CARES Act that was passed into law last week that is called the Paycheck Protection Program. Now, that is what you've probably been hearing a lot about on the TV. It's a loan of the lesser of up to $10 million, or more realistically, 2.5 months of your average payroll expenses for the past year. So it's a payroll loan to encourage small business owners to retain their employees. And this loan is up to 2.5 months of your current payroll. This loan does not have to necessarily be used on just payroll. It can be used on rent, on utilities, on payroll without any penalties. But it's based on the amount of payroll that you have. And it's a short-term 2.5 months worth of cash flow for that to cover those expenses of payroll or rent. This is a 4% interest rate, 10-year term loan. But the key with this one that you've probably heard elsewhere is it could be 100% forgivable. If you meet certain criteria, if you use it for the intended purpose, it can be 100% forgivable with no penalty. So the two different programs are a potentially larger loan that's got a 30-year amortization, a 30-year term, and 3.75% interest rate that you don't have to start paying for a year. And the other program is a Paycheck Protection Program for retaining your employees. It's 2.5 months of cash for paying those wages, and that's going to get you a smaller amount of money, but you're going to get it a lot quicker. The Paycheck Protection Program is not available yet. The bill that passed last week just passed, and they've instructed the SBA to get the guidelines to the banks by this Friday. So the banks that do SBA loans, SBA preferred banks, will be able to handle that program. So the Paycheck Protection Program will be handled through banks that do SBA loans. If you're local, I know there are several banks in this area that do paycheck loans. I'll be happy to get a list of those and put them in the comments down below. But the Economic Injury Disaster Loan is a program you can apply for directly on the SBA.gov website right now. There is a provision in the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program that a $10,000 advance of that loan can be made available within 72 hours, 3 days, from the time that you fill out the application for emergencies, for these small businesses like especially restaurants and retail stores that have been very negatively affected by having to shut down effectively, not allowing customers to come in and frequent their stores. This could be a $10,000 advance on that economic injury disaster loan that you could get within just a few days by filling out that application. Go to SBA.gov. Right now, you'll see at the very top of the page, there'll be a link to fill out the application. As part of that application, it's going to ask you if you would like to receive, if you need to receive that $10,000 within 3 days. And you check that box, put in your bank account information, and somebody will get back to you within a couple of days. If you choose to do the advance of $10,000, you should know that the Paycheck Protection Program, whether or not your payroll for 2.5 months is over or under the $10,000, the amount that you can get forgiven cannot include both of those. From everyone that we've talked to, from the SBA, from the Chamber of Commerce, the Georgia Chamber of Commerce, the U.S. Chamber, all of the fact sheets that we've seen and multiple webinars that I've been on have all made it clear that the forgiveness may not work with both of those programs. So you can apply for both of these loan programs, and some of this funds will be forgiven, but it's unlikely that you will be able to get a $10,000 advance that will be forgiven and the 2.5 months of payroll protection that will be forgiven. What they've indicated is that the amount forgiven will be one or the other, whichever is maybe more. So you should take that into consideration. But personally, I recommend that any small business owner that's been financially negatively affected by this coronavirus apply for both of these programs as soon as available. So go today and apply for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan at SBA.gov. Fill out that form to get in line. This will probably not be a quick process to get approved. You're probably looking at several weeks to a month to be approved for this loan and receive funds other than the $10,000 emergency advance. However, the program that should roll out first of next week, once the banks get their guidance this Friday, will be quicker access to capital, possibly within a week. We'll find out once those guidelines actually come down from the SBA. But you'll go directly to your bank for those loans. So your banker will take some information. It's going to be a very brief. These loans are not a typical SBA loan that's 100 pages worth of the loan and then all the amendments and additions and detailed explanations of every aspect of your financial history. They're much more pared down. They're much fewer restrictions on who can get the loans, and they're looking at less information. They do ask a handful of questions about certain things that could disqualify you, but the things that could disqualify you from a normal 7A loan, most of those will not disqualify you from either the Paycheck Protection Program or the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. So I'm recommending to everybody to go fill out the loan application on SBA.gov right now. And if you're negatively affected to the point where your cash flow is currently an issue, check the box to request the $10,000 emergency grant. You should get that within 3 business days. And even if that takes away from the forgivability of the Paycheck Protection Program, it's probably going to be a little bit faster way to get funds into your business if you really need them right now. Then the Paycheck Protection Program will roll out next week, and we'll definitely do a video. We'll probably do a Zoom video next week where we'll go through and meet with a banker or two, somebody from the SBA, anybody that can help us understand that program and how best to apply. And we'll try to get any guidance from any of the SBA banks in our area to provide us with the application process and the specifics of how to apply for that. And we'll hope to do that early next week. So again, if you are negatively affected by the coronavirus situation in your small business, go to SBA.gov today and go ahead and get in line, because there are hundreds of thousands, if not already 1 million applications. And there are only so many people that can process those applications at the SBA. So So there's going to be a backlog, and I recommend getting in as quickly as possible so that you can get your place in line to get your application. And hopefully they're not so backed up that they can't approve those $10,000 advances in that 3-day period that they promised. So go ahead and do that. I also have an SBA comparison sheet of these two loans from Synovus that was shared on the call with the Georgia Chamber of Commerce earlier today that I will post in I'll post it in the comments of these if they have it linked on their website. Otherwise, just shoot me a message. I'll be happy to email it to you. It does a great job of comparing these two loans, these two programs side by side, and I'll be happy to send that to you if you just send me a message. If you have any questions, just put them down below. I'll be happy to answer them. I'm going to follow up with the comments and make sure that I answer any questions if there was anything I wasn't really clear about. But the big takeaway is go to SBA.gov right now if you haven't already applied and fill out the application. It takes maybe 10 minutes. All you need to know is your revenues from January of last year to this year. So one trailing year ending January 31st, 2020, and your cost of goods. That's it. That's really all the information that you're going to need other than the owner information, the stuff that you probably know on the top of your head. One report in QuickBooks or your accounting software will get you that information quickly. So you can fill out this application in 10 minutes and potentially have funds to help you with cash flow in 3 days. If you have any questions, put them down below, and we'll be doing this again next week as soon as we have more information on the Paycheck Protection Program.